Sometimes the quietest places hold the loudest secrets. Lucas Bennett whispered to himself as he and Shadow emerged from the thick pines, their boots and paws crunching against the frost-hardened earth. The morning air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine resin and the lingering chill of overnight snow. Lucas adjusted the strap of his weathered backpack, the leather worn soft from years of travel, and breathed in deeply, feeling the cold bite at his lungs yet invigorating him with every inhale. Shadow, a 6-year-old German shepherd with a silver gray and cream coat that glimmered even in the muted sunlight, moved with a careful precision beside him, ears twitching and amber eyes scanning the shadows that danced beneath the trees. Ahead, partially swallowed by overgrown branches and the creeping ivy of neglect, lay the abandoned helicopter. Its once shiny fuselage was dulled by years of rain and snow, streaks of rust tracing paths like the veins of a long-forgotten map. The rotors sagged with the weight of time, and the tail fin leaned at an angle that whispered stories of storms survived and missions forgotten. Lucas crouched beside a patch of frozen ground, running his gloved fingers over the icy leaves, letting the silence wrap around him like a thick blanket, a silence that reminded him of nights spent waiting in the stillness of Afghan deserts where only the faintest vibrations hinted at what lay beneath. Shadow let out a soft, measured growl, his paw pressing against a weathered panel of the helicopter as if nudging Lucas to pay attention to what the world had kept hidden. Lucas exhaled, a foggy plume rising and curling into the cold morning, and followed the dog's lead, stepping carefully onto the uneven metal steps that led to the cockpit. Dust motes swirled in the shafts of sunlight, piercing cracks in the metal, painting golden lines through the cold air. The seats were tattered, the controls stiff with age, and a faint metallic tang of old oil hung in the air. He traced his fingers over the worn switches and faded labels, feeling the weight of decades passed in each groove and scratch. Shadow nosed along the floor, pausing occasionally to sniff a corner, then pressing his paw against the floorboards near the rear of the cabin, eyes wide and questioning. Lucas followed, feeling a strange rhythm beneath the soles of his boots, a faint vibration that pulsed almost like a heartbeat hidden beneath the layers of metal and time. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening, counting the intervals with the discipline etched into him from years of service. 27 seconds. Another pulse. 27. The pattern was steady, deliberate, and Lucas felt a shiver of anticipation. Somewhere beneath them, the earth, or perhaps the machinery that had been abandoned for so long, whispered secrets, and Shadow's low whine reminded him that the dog had sensed something beyond the ordinary. Lucas knelt, placing a hand on Shadow's neck, and felt the warmth and alertness in the animal, a companion that had survived more than most humans could bear. With a steadying breath, he rose and reached toward a loose panel near the rear, carefully prying it open to reveal a narrow space beyond. Dust swirled, sunlight caught in the particles, and for a moment the world seemed suspended, the trees outside frozen in a tableau of quiet anticipation. Lucas felt the familiar tingle of curiosity and cautious excitement, the same pulse that had driven him to explore forgotten places long before, and he whispered again to himself, "Let's see what secrets you've been keeping." Shadow stayed close, tail low but wagging slightly, amber eyes fixed on the opening, ready to lead Lucas into whatever lay hidden in the heart of the abandoned helicopter. Lucas Bennett took a slow, deliberate step into the narrow space revealed by the loose panel, the floor beneath his boots uneven but solid enough to hold his weight. Dust and a faint metallic scent filled the air, curling around him in thin streams illuminated by the pale morning sunlight that filtered through cracks in the helicopter skin. Shadow followed closely, his paws silent on the cold metal, ears flicking in constant alertness, nostrils quivering as he absorbed every scent of the hidden chamber. The space extended just enough for Lucas to kneel and peer into a deeper cavity, lined with layers of corroded metal and remnants of supplies long forgotten. A small, tattered notebook rested on a ledge, its edges frayed, pages yellowed with age, ink faded but still legible. Lucas lifted it carefully, brushing away the dust with gloved fingers, revealing notes and diagrams in precise handwriting, a record of calculations, locations, and cryptic annotations that hinted at something far greater than he could yet comprehend. Shadow circled, nose to the ground, then lifted his head. Amber eyes locked on a faint glimmer in a corner where a section of the helicopter floor appeared slightly raised, hidden from casual notice. Lucas crouched lower, feeling a low hum under his palms, a vibration almost imperceptible but steady, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. He traced the edges of the raised panel, discovering a small latch concealed beneath a layer of dirt and grime, and with careful persistence, he released it, revealing a narrow passage descending into darkness. The air grew cooler and heavier as they moved down, carrying the faint smell of damp stone and mineral, mingling with the metallic tang of the helicopter. The light from the opening above faded as Lucas drew a small lantern from his pack, its glow revealing walls that seemed to have been carved and reinforced decades ago. A hidden compartment, or perhaps a forgotten cellar, filled with crates, containers, and objects whose purposes had been long obscured by time. Shadow paused frequently, alert to sounds Lucas could not hear, nudging at certain areas with a gentle pressure of his snout, guiding Lucas toward a cluster of boxes that seemed more carefully preserved than the rest. He opened the first crate with deliberate care, lifting the lid to reveal an assortment of mechanical parts, maps, and documents, some with seals still intact, others annotated with dates from years past. Each item seemed to pulse with the quiet significance of history, whispering stories of missions, plans, and intentions that had remained hidden for decades. Lucas felt a sense of reverence, the weight of forgotten labor and dedication pressing gently on his shoulders, and he exhaled slowly, allowing the moment to settle over him. Shadow padded silently behind, tail low but tip flicking, sensing Lucas's mix of anticipation and awe. They moved deeper into the chamber, the narrow walls guiding them to a central alcove where the largest crate sat, heavier, with markings that suggested importance. Lucas crouched beside it, tracing the faded symbols etched into the wood, each line deliberate, precise, as if left to speak to someone patient enough to discover it. With measured effort, he lifted the lid, and the soft creak echoed in the stillness, revealing contents that sparkled faintly in the lantern light. A collection of instruments, devices, and carefully wrapped bundles that suggested a purpose beyond ordinary comprehension. Remnants of ingenuity or preservation, a hidden legacy waiting for acknowledgement. Shadow sniffed each item cautiously, then pressed a paw against one particular bundle, his amber eyes fixed on Lucas, prompting him to examine it more closely. Lucas untied the ribbon, revealing papers, charts, and a small metallic object whose function was unclear but carried an undeniable sense of value, both practical and historical. He lifted it carefully, feeling the chill of the metal, its weight solid and grounding, and he realized that this discovery connected decades of human effort, secrecy, and dedication to this very place, and that somehow, he and Shadow had become the keepers of a secret that had waited patiently for the right hands. Outside, the sunlight began to shift, brushing golden highlights across the edges of the helicopter's exterior, yet inside, the hidden chamber remained cloaked in its quiet mystery, a sanctuary of stories paused in time, awaiting the moment of revelation that Lucas had only just begun to understand. Lucas Bennett shifted the lantern carefully, casting a warm glow across the hidden chamber as he and Shadow moved deeper into the space, the faint hum of the floorboards beneath their feet echoing softly against the metal walls. Each crate, bundle, and carefully wrapped object seemed to whisper stories from a time long past, secrets held in patience until now. Shadow padded forward, nose low, occasionally pausing to press a paw gently against the crates, guiding Lucas toward a section where the light revealed faded symbols etched into the wood, intricate and deliberate, suggesting care and intent beyond casual storage. Lucas crouched, studying the markings, tracing the lines with gloved fingers, feeling a connection to the hands that had placed them here, and a subtle thrill ran through him, the same pulse that had driven him to seek out forgotten places in his youth. He lifted one of the bundles, carefully unwrapping layers of cloth to reveal a collection of metal instruments and sealed documents, their surfaces polished by time and handling, each item radiating the quiet dignity of craftsmanship and purpose. The papers, yellowed but legible, contained diagrams, instructions, and notations that hinted at a project both complex and extraordinary, something designed to endure decades, a legacy waiting for someone who could appreciate it fully. Shadow pressed his head against Lucas's side, eyes alert, sensing the magnitude of the discovery, a silent reassurance that they were in the right place at the right moment. Lucas followed a narrow passage deeper, the air growing cooler, carrying the scent of mineral and old metal, mingling with the faint tang of oil from the helicopter above. The walls were reinforced with beams and plates that hinted at care and intention, a secret room built to last, hidden in plain sight, yet only accessible to those patient enough to find it. As he explored, Lucas discovered a panel set apart from the rest, its surface smoother, edges beveled, with faint impressions that suggested it had been opened carefully in the past. With gentle persistence, he lifted it to reveal a shallow compartment containing a small collection of letters, maps, and tools, each item meticulously preserved. The maps showed locations and routes that spanned miles of forest and mountain, annotated with symbols that only someone who had studied them carefully could interpret. Lucas felt the familiar surge of awe and reverence that came with uncovering something forgotten, but not lost, a tangible connection to a past that had waited decades to be recognized. Shadow circled, sniffing the edges of the compartment, nudging Lucas toward a folded envelope at the bottom, sealed and bearing an insignia that was now faded but still discernible. Lucas lifted the envelope with care, the weight of anticipation pressing gently on his shoulders, and unfolded it to reveal detailed notes, sketches, and instructions that spoke of ingenuity, dedication, and a mission left unfinished, a plan paused in time, yet preserved for discovery. He ran a gloved hand over the text, feeling a strange sense of continuity, as if the past and present had converged in this moment, and he could almost hear the quiet voices of those who had left it here, a whisper of trust that the right person would come. Outside, the sun had climbed higher, streaking pale light across the icy forest floor, yet within the hidden chamber, the world was suspended, alive with the silent stories of labor, intention, and hope. Lucas exhaled slowly, letting the weight of history and the thrill of discovery settle over him, and Shadow lay at his feet, eyes half closed but attentive, a guardian of secrets and witness to the unfolding revelation. In the stillness, Lucas realized that this moment, shared with Shadow, marked a bridge between what had been hidden and what would now be known, a quiet turning point that would ripple beyond the confines of the chamber, carrying with it the legacy, ingenuity, and patient devotion of those who had come before, and the promise of purpose renewed. Lucas Bennett carefully adjusted the lantern, its warm glow illuminating the narrow walls of the hidden chamber as he and Shadow stepped further inside, the cool air carrying the faint scent of damp metal and aged wood. Each step was deliberate, measured, as the shadows danced along the walls, tracing the contours of crates, bundles, and carefully wrapped objects that seemed to hum with the quiet weight of history. Shadow padded silently beside him, tail low but twitching with alertness, ears pricked, amber eyes scanning every corner for the faintest hint of movement or sound. Lucas crouched beside a wooden crate with faded markings, tracing the intricate symbols etched into its surface, the grooves worn smooth by decades of handling. He lifted the lid slowly, a small cloud of dust rising and catching the lantern light in a halo, revealing an array of papers, instruments, and bundles wrapped in cloth. The diagrams and notes inside hinted at long-forgotten projects, plans that had been preserved with care, as though the hands that created them had known they would one day be found by someone who could understand. Shadow nudged a bundle gently with his nose, prompting Lucas to unwrap it, revealing a set of metal tools and delicate devices, polished and preserved, each piece a testament to ingenuity and patient craftsmanship. The room seemed to hold its breath as Lucas examined the items, the quiet of the forest outside pressing against the metal walls of the helicopter, creating a cocoon of stillness. He carefully unfolded a series of maps, the edges frayed, ink faded but legible, detailing routes, coordinates, and annotations that spoke of effort, planning, and purpose. Shadow moved closer to a corner, pawing at a section of the floor that shifted subtly under pressure, revealing a narrow hatch beneath. Lucas knelt, pressing his hand against the metal, feeling a low hum, steady and deliberate, a rhythm that matched the subtle vibrations he had learned to recognize years before in silent, tense moments far from home. He opened the hatch, revealing a staircase descending into darkness, the air cooler and heavier, tinged with mineral and faint oil. With Shadow leading, he carefully stepped down, the lantern light casting long shadows along walls reinforced and shaped with care, creating a hidden sanctuary untouched by time. At the bottom, the space opened into a small chamber filled with crates and packages, some stacked neatly, others scattered as if time itself had paused within. Lucas moved from crate to crate, opening each one slowly, discovering a mix of maps, instruments, letters, and objects that seemed to pulse with the quiet significance of history. Shadow circled, sniffing, ears flicking, guiding Lucas to a particularly well-preserved crate at the center. Inside, he found bundles wrapped with ribbons, delicate sketches, and notes meticulously penned, diagrams illustrating devices or plans long forgotten but carefully maintained. Lucas felt the thrill of understanding slowly build, a connection to the past that transcended decades, as if the place had been waiting for someone patient enough to uncover it. He lifted one bundle, feeling the weight and texture of the contents, unwrapping it to reveal instruments and documents whose purpose suggested careful observation, study, and preservation, a secret project whose meaning had endured hidden from the world. Shadow pressed a paw against one document, amber eyes fixed on Lucas, an unspoken signal that something remarkable lay within. Lucas carefully studied the contents, the notes, diagrams, and delicate devices forming a coherent story of ingenuity, foresight, and quiet devotion. Outside, the light shifted as clouds passed, casting dappled patterns into the chamber, yet inside, time felt suspended, as if decades of history had held its breath to be discovered in this very moment. Lucas exhaled slowly, a mixture of awe and calm settling over him, realizing that this hidden place, preserved by hands long gone, was now theirs to witness and understand, a testament to patience, skill, and the quiet beauty of secrets kept and finally revealed, while Shadow sat loyally by his side, tail flicking, eyes attentive, a silent companion to the unfolding revelation. Lucas Bennett stepped further into the hidden chamber, the lantern casting long, wavering shadows across the stacked crates and carefully preserved bundles, the air cool and tinged with the scent of aged metal and forest pine seeping from the cracks above. Shadow moved ahead, nose low, ears alert, guiding Lucas to a small alcove tucked against the wall where a cluster of objects seemed more intentionally arranged than the rest, as if awaiting discovery. Lucas knelt, brushing dust and cobwebs aside to reveal an assortment of tools and devices, some gleaming faintly despite decades of neglect, others covered in faded annotations and delicate diagrams. He lifted a sheet of paper, its edges frayed, ink still legible, filled with detailed instructions and schematics, notes of measurements, and calculations that hinted at a purpose that extended far beyond the immediate space. Shadow circled, tail low but tip flicking in anticipation, nudging Lucas toward a small, carefully wrapped package at the edge of the alcove. Lucas lifted the bundle gently, unwrapping layers to reveal a collection of precision instruments, small mechanical devices, and a compact notebook, each item carefully preserved, the kind of meticulous care that spoke of dedication, patience, and intent. The room seemed to hold its breath, every particle of dust suspended in the golden glow of the lantern, echoing the stillness outside, where frost clung to the evergreen branches and the faint rustle of the wind whispered through the pines. Lucas felt a chill of awe, running his gloved fingers over the notes and instruments, imagining the hands that had created them and the minds that had conceived such detailed plans, preserved here for decades, waiting for someone to recognize their significance. Shadow pressed his paw against the notebook, eyes fixed on Lucas, urging him to explore the final layers of the discovery, a silent companion guiding him toward understanding. Lucas carefully opened the notebook, turning each page slowly, absorbing sketches, diagrams, and meticulous annotations, the words and symbols conveying a story of foresight, ingenuity, and hidden effort that had remained untouched for generations. He felt a sense of reverence, the kind that arises when encountering the quiet legacy of thoughtful work, the echo of intentions long past now meeting the patient attention of discovery. Shadow remained at his side, ears flicking, amber eyes alert, sensing the gravity of the moment, a steady presence that had accompanied Lucas through countless silent journeys. The deeper he delved, the more he uncovered the interconnectedness of the objects, notes, and instruments, the precise care suggesting a purpose that had endured beyond memory and time. Lucas carefully examined each item, noting its construction, purpose, and position within the chamber, realizing that the assemblage represented not just mechanical knowledge, but a preserved record of human curiosity, ingenuity, and dedication to understanding. The air grew quieter, as though the forest itself held its breath, the only sounds the soft shuffle of boots and paws across the cold metal floor, the faint hum of hidden spaces beneath, and the subtle echo of their movements in the tight chamber. Lucas paused, taking in the moment, feeling the weight and significance of the discovery settle over him like a gentle mantle, a connection bridging decades and the quiet persistence of those who had left these artifacts for a careful observer. Shadow pressed against him, a gentle nudge, reminding Lucas that while the discoveries were profound, the experience was shared, a silent communion between man and dog, both witnesses to the unfolding revelation. Outside, the pale morning sun shifted, light streaking through the cracks in the helicopter, illuminating motes of dust that danced like tiny spirits in the air, while inside, the chamber remained a timeless repository, holding its secrets patiently until the right hands arrived to appreciate, understand, and preserve the legacy contained within. Lucas Bennett took a deep breath, the cool air of the hidden chamber filling his lungs as he carefully examined the final set of documents laid out before him, their edges curling slightly from age, ink fading but still legible under the soft glow of the lantern. Shadow pressed close to his side, tail low but moving in a gentle rhythm, ears flicking at every subtle sound, sensing the quiet anticipation that filled the room. Each page revealed more layers of thought, calculations, and meticulous planning, a testament to the care and purpose of the individual who had left them behind. Maps detailed precise routes through the surrounding forests and mountains, annotations marking points of interest, natural landmarks, and careful measurements that spoke to a deep understanding of the terrain and the environment. Lucas traced the lines with his gloved fingers, absorbing the patience and intent that had been poured into these records, feeling a quiet connection across time to a mind dedicated to preservation and thoughtful work. Shadow moved ahead, nudging a small metallic device that had been partially hidden beneath a bundle of papers, and Lucas bent to examine it, marveling at the precision and craftsmanship, the way it seemed both delicate and purposeful. The light from the lantern reflected softly off its polished surfaces, highlighting intricate engravings and subtle adjustments that suggested careful use and maintenance over the years. Lucas felt the weight of reverence settle over him, a quiet acknowledgement of the history contained within these walls and the human ingenuity that had been so carefully preserved. He lifted another bundle, this one wrapped in faded cloth, revealing a collection of instruments and writing tools, each item positioned with intent, as though the person who had left them wanted any future visitor to recognize their importance and understand their purpose. Shadow sniffed the air, then placed a paw lightly on the corner of a wooden crate, his amber eyes looking up at Lucas, signaling the importance of what lay beneath. Lucas knelt and pried open the crate slowly, the hinges creaking softly, revealing more maps, letters, and small mechanical components, each piece a part of a larger puzzle that had been waiting patiently to be discovered. The quiet of the forest outside pressed against the chamber, the soft rustle of wind through the pine branches mingling with the faint hum of metal and the subtle creaks of the helicopter structure above. Lucas exhaled slowly, letting the magnitude of the discovery settle over him, appreciating the intricate care and foresight of the past. Shadow circled, nose close to the ground, then pressed against Lucas's side, a steady companion, affirming the importance of the find and the shared understanding between man and dog. As he continued to explore, Lucas found a set of envelopes, neatly arranged, containing notes and diagrams with detailed instructions and observations, the handwriting precise, deliberate, and purposeful. He carefully unfolded each one, absorbing the knowledge and the care evident in every line. Understanding that this collection represented decades of dedication, thoughtfulness, and quiet perseverance. The sunlight outside shifted slightly, casting slanted beams through the cracks in the helicopter exterior, illuminating motes of dust that floated like tiny, suspended memories. Inside, the hidden chamber remained timeless, a sanctuary of human ingenuity and patience, preserved until the right person arrived. Lucas felt a deep sense of gratitude and awe, recognizing the quiet legacy left behind, the thoughtful preparation, and the opportunity to connect with something larger than himself. Shadow lay beside him, ears flicking in quiet attentiveness, eyes reflecting the golden light, a loyal companion witnessing the unfolding story. Together, they absorbed the stillness and the significance of the space, aware that what had been hidden for decades had now been entrusted to them, carrying with it the promise of discovery, understanding, and the subtle joy of witnessing a patient and enduring secret. Finally revealed, Lucas Bennett lingered in the hidden chamber, lantern light casting a soft glow over the maps, instruments, and bundles that surrounded him, each object holding a quiet significance that seemed to vibrate through the air with the weight of decades. Shadow stood nearby, alert, tail low, eyes reflecting the warm glow as he sniffed at the edges of a carefully wrapped bundle, nudging Lucas with a gentle pressure that felt like encouragement. Lucas unfolded another set of diagrams, the lines and annotations meticulous and deliberate, revealing a network of routes, measurements, and calculations that suggested a project both ambitious and precise, designed to endure and remain meaningful far beyond the moment of its creation. He traced each line with gloved fingers, absorbing the care, patience, and intent that had been embedded in every detail, feeling a connection across time to a mind dedicated to thoughtful planning and preservation. Shadow moved quietly, pausing occasionally to press a paw against the floorboards or sniff a faint trace of scent that lingered in the air, guiding Lucas subtly toward areas of interest that he might have otherwise overlooked. The room seemed suspended in time, every breath, movement, and whisper of air carrying the history and purpose of the objects surrounding them. Lucas carefully lifted a bundle that had been tucked in a corner, revealing a collection of tools, small mechanical devices, and sealed envelopes, each item arranged with a precision that suggested it had been waiting for the right person to find it. He untied the ribbon and opened the envelopes, discovering pages filled with meticulous notes, sketches, and instructions that hinted at a mission, an intention, or a study that had been left incomplete but preserved with care. The sunlight outside shifted through the cracks of the helicopter fuselage, casting slender beams that illuminated motes of dust like floating memories, while inside, the chamber remained a sanctuary of human ingenuity and quiet determination. Lucas felt a growing sense of anticipation and wonder, the understanding that he had stumbled upon not just forgotten objects, but a legacy, a preserved story of dedication and creativity that had endured for decades. Shadow pressed a paw gently against his leg, eyes fixed, guiding him to a narrow recess where a small metallic object glinted faintly in the lantern light. Lucas knelt and lifted it, discovering a compact device, polished and carefully constructed, its purpose obscure but its craftsmanship undeniable, a symbol of patience and expertise. He examined the surrounding crates and bundles more closely, uncovering additional letters and notes, each page revealing another layer of thought, care, and deliberate intention, a story unfolding in careful increments that demanded attention and reverence. The air was cool and quiet, carrying faint echoes of the forest outside, the rustle of distant pines mingling with the soft creaks of the helicopter structure. Yet within this hidden space, time felt suspended, as though the chamber had existed solely to preserve these secrets until they could be appreciated. Lucas exhaled slowly, letting the magnitude of discovery settle over him, aware that he and Shadow had become witnesses and caretakers of a hidden history, a quiet testament to human ingenuity and foresight. Shadow settled close by, ears flicking and amber eyes attentive, a loyal presence sharing in the awe and stillness, reinforcing the sense that they were part of a story that stretched across generations. now brought into light by patience, curiosity, and the quiet persistence of exploration. Lucas felt a profound respect for the hands that had left this legacy, the time they had invested, and the trust embedded in every object and note. And he understood that the moments they were living now were part of a continuum of careful thought and enduring purpose, a bridge between past and present that he and Shadow had been fortunate to traverse. Lucas Bennett felt a quiet shift in the chamber as he carefully laid out the instruments, maps, and bundles in a sequence that mirrored the care and intention of the person who had left them. Shadow moved beside him, amber eyes alert, tail low but flicking in subtle anticipation, guiding Lucas's attention to details that might otherwise have been overlooked. Each item he examined revealed additional layers of thought, precision, and purpose, from annotated sketches to folded letters with careful instructions, all preserved against time as though the decades had been suspended in expectation of discovery. Lucas ran gloved fingers along the edges of a small wooden crate, lifting the lid to reveal an array of delicate mechanical devices, carefully arranged in compartments, their surfaces polished faintly by past handling, each tool and piece of equipment suggesting a purpose that reached beyond the chamber itself. He unfolded a series of letters and notes, the handwriting meticulous, diagrams precise, conveying ideas that demanded focus and understanding, the product of intellect and patience preserved in silence. Shadow patted around, sniffing at corners, pressing gently with his paw against particular bundles, guiding Lucas to areas of special significance, a silent partner in unraveling the story contained within the chamber. Lucas followed the hints, lifting a small bundle wrapped in faded cloth to reveal a collection of instruments and meticulously organized documents, the weight of the past pressing gently as he absorbed the information. The maps depicted intricate routes and landmarks, annotated with careful measurements and symbols, each line a connection across time between the person who had crafted them and the one now uncovering them. Lucas felt a profound sense of awe, the realization that he had become part of a continuum of care and purpose, bridging decades and connecting him to a story that had waited patiently to be recognized. Shadow nudged his side, eyes fixed on a particular envelope tucked beneath a set of tools, encouraging Lucas to examine its contents. He opened the envelope carefully, revealing a sequence of notes, sketches, and precise instructions that spoke of an enduring project, a legacy of ingenuity and careful observation preserved to inspire or guide someone willing to explore it fully. The quiet of the forest outside pressed against the chamber, the soft rustle of pine needles mingling with the faint hum of metal and wood within the helicopter, creating a sense of timelessness and calm. Lucas felt a deep connection to the meticulous effort that had produced these artifacts, a reverence for the patience and foresight that had preserved them, and a quiet understanding that he and Shadow were now custodians of this hidden history. He carefully examined the last of the crates, lifting covers to reveal additional instruments, maps, and letters, each item a testament to the quiet dedication of the original creator, and each discovery reinforcing the sense of wonder and responsibility that filled the room. Shadow settled beside him, head low, eyes alert, as if sharing in the anticipation and reverence, a loyal companion witnessing the unfolding story. Lucas took the long, steady breath, letting the magnitude of the chamber, the preserved knowledge, and the hidden legacy fill him with a sense of purpose and connection, understanding that the story of patience, care, and discovery was now part of their shared journey, a silent testament to the enduring value of curiosity, dedication, and quiet courage across the passage of time. Lucas Bennett finally rose from the low crouch he had maintained for hours, the lantern casting a soft, steady glow over the chamber that now felt less like a hidden space and more like a repository of history, a quiet testament to care, patience, and purpose preserved across decades. Shadow sat faithfully at his side, ears flicking occasionally, amber eyes alert to every subtle sound in the room, his presence a grounding force as Lucas examined the final documents and instruments, feeling the weight of the discoveries settling into his consciousness. The maps, sketches, and meticulously preserved devices lay spread before him, each one revealing not only technical precision, but also a story of human dedication and quiet foresight, a legacy left behind for someone patient and observant enough to uncover it. Lucas traced the edges of an old schematic, gloved fingers following each line and curve, appreciating the clarity, the careful measurements, and the foresight evident in every detail, understanding that the Creator had intended this knowledge to endure, to inform, and perhaps to inspire. Shadow nudged a small bundle with his nose, amber eyes meeting Lucas's as if to remind him that the hidden space had guided them to this precise moment, a silent acknowledgement of trust and partnership. Lucas carefully opened the bundle, revealing more delicate instruments and notes, the pages filled with calculations, diagrams, and instructions, each line representing meticulous thought, time, and patience. He allowed himself a quiet moment to absorb the scale of the discovery, the realization that these artifacts and documents represented more than objects. They embodied intention, effort, and a vision preserved for the right hands to uncover. The air in the chamber was still and cool, carrying the faint scent of metal, aged wood, and distant pine from the forest outside, while the pale morning light that filtered through cracks in the helicopter fuselage cast long, dancing shadows, illuminating dust motes like tiny witnesses to the decades of waiting. Lucas leaned back slightly, taking in the space and the items within it, sensing the continuity that connected him and Shadow to the people who had left this collection behind, a quiet bridge across time. Shadow pressed gently against his side, tail low, eyes fixed, sharing the silent acknowledgement of discovery and understanding. The bond between them deepened by the shared experience of unveiling something long hidden. Lucas carefully repacked some of the bundles, maintaining their arrangement, and stepped back to observe the chamber as a whole, noting the thought and precision in the placement, the intentionality that spoke of a respect for both the materials and the knowledge preserved. He exhaled slowly, the quiet reverence of the moment settling over him, understanding that this hidden trove was not just a collection of instruments, maps, and notes, but a preserved testament to ingenuity, patience, and the human drive to create, understand, and leave a meaningful mark. Shadow shifted slightly, head tilting as he regarded Lucas with attentive eyes, as though sensing the depth of realization and the quiet awe that filled him. Lucas looked around the chamber once more, the soft light highlighting the careful preservation, the subtle echoes of human presence left behind, and he felt a profound sense of gratitude and connection, aware that he and Shadow had become the custodians of a story that had waited decades for recognition. Together, they stood quietly, absorbing the stillness, the light, and the enduring significance of the space, understanding that this moment, shared between veteran and dog, marked the bridge between the past and the present, a culmination of patience, discovery, and the gentle reminder that careful work and thoughtful preservation can leave a legacy capable of inspiring wonder long after its creator has gone. Lucas Bennett paused in the hidden chamber, the soft glow of the lantern illuminating the instruments, bundles, and maps that had become the focus of their exploration, feeling the weight of the accumulated knowledge pressing gently, like the quiet presence of those who had left it behind. Shadow stood alert by his side, tail low, ears flicking, amber eyes following every subtle movement, ready to signal even the slightest disturbance or discovery. Lucas picked up a set of letters carefully preserved in a weathered envelope, the ink faded but legible, filled with instructions, diagrams, and notes that reflected years of meticulous effort and patient observation, a story of ingenuity hidden away for someone who could appreciate it. He traced the lines and symbols with gloved fingers, absorbing the intent and precision, imagining the hands that had measured, drawn, and recorded each detail with care, leaving behind a legacy that had endured decades of neglect, yet remained clear and purposeful. Shadow circled the room, nose close to the ground, pausing to press a paw gently against a bundle tucked beneath a crate, guiding Lucas toward a collection of small mechanical devices, polished and organized, each item a testament to precision and thoughtful preservation. The air carried the faint metallic scent of the instruments, mingling with the subtle earthy aroma of pine and damp forest that seeped through cracks in the helicopter above, creating an atmosphere of quiet reverence and anticipation. Lucas carefully unfolded additional maps, their surfaces marked with routes, elevations, and natural features, annotated with symbols and notes that suggested planning, exploration, and a desire to preserve understanding for a future observer. He felt a subtle thrill of connection, as though the creator of these objects had anticipated someone patient and attentive enough to uncover their story, and that he and Shadow had been chosen to witness it. Shadow pressed closer, nose brushing against Lucas's arm, amber eyes meeting his in silent communication, reinforcing the sense of partnership and trust, guiding him gently to the next bundle. Lucas lifted the package, unwrapping layers of cloth and paper to reveal a set of delicate instruments, a compact notebook, and folded diagrams, each carefully maintained, the precision of their arrangement suggesting not just utility, but reverence for the work itself. He examined each page of the notebook, filled with meticulous notes, calculations, and illustrations, understanding that the knowledge preserved within had been intended to be found and appreciated by someone who would treat it with care. Outside, the soft morning light shifted through the forest canopy, casting long, golden beams across the icy ground, illuminating the helicopter in dappled patterns, while inside, the chamber remained timeless, a sanctuary of thought, craftsmanship, and enduring intent. Lucas exhaled slowly, absorbing the significance of what had been revealed, feeling a profound sense of connection to the past and gratitude for the opportunity to witness such careful preservation. Shadow settled beside him, tail flicking gently, ears alert, the loyal presence of a companion who had shared the journey from discovery to understanding. Lucas looked around the chamber one final time, noting the arrangement of instruments, letters, maps, and devices, appreciating the foresight, care, and deliberate intention in every detail, and he felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that he and Shadow had honored the legacy of those who had hidden these treasures, bridging decades with patience, respect, and attentive observation. Together, they lingered in the quiet, allowing the weight of discovery, the presence of history, and the enduring sense of purpose to fill the space, a shared moment of reverence, understanding, and quiet awe. Lucas Bennett stepped back slightly, allowing his eyes to adjust to the dim glow of the lantern as he surveyed the hidden chamber in its entirety, the arrangement of crates, bundles, maps, and delicate instruments now revealing a tapestry of intention, preservation, and quiet foresight. Shadow shifted at his side, tail low but tip flicking, ears alert, amber eyes scanning the chamber with the same careful attention Lucas applied to each object, a companion fully attuned to the significance of their discovery. He traced his gloved fingers along the edges of a wooden crate, lifting the lid slowly, revealing a series of neatly stacked folders, each containing notes, sketches, and calculations that told a story of dedication, patience, and human ingenuity preserved across decades. Lucas bent closer, absorbing the meticulous detail, imagining the hands that had crafted these objects and written these instructions, the care invested in ensuring that their meaning would endure beyond the passage of time. Shadow circled gently, nudging a bundle wrapped in faded cloth toward Lucas, as though to prompt him toward the next piece of the puzzle, his instincts attuned to the patterns and significance hidden within the chamber. Lucas carefully unwrapped the bundle, revealing a series of instruments and a small collection of letters, each sealed and annotated, revealing insights into methods, observations, and thoughtful planning that had been carefully preserved for decades. The sunlight filtering through the cracks of the helicopter cast shifting patterns across the chamber floor, illuminating motes of dust that swirled gently in the beams of light, highlighting the quiet stillness and reverence of the space. Lucas set the instruments and letters before him, examining each with deliberate care, reading the diagrams, interpreting the notes, and piecing together the intentions that had been embedded within the objects. Shadow nudged at the edge of a crate, tail flicking, guiding Lucas toward a hidden compartment beneath the floor, a small hatch previously unnoticed. Lucas knelt, pressing a hand against the metal, feeling a faint vibration, a subtle reminder that this chamber, though silent, held life in its preserved purpose. With measured care, he lifted the hatch, revealing a narrow passage descending further, the air cool and carrying the scent of stone and metal mingled with the faint earthy aroma from the forest outside. Shadow led the way, moving with quiet assurance, paws light against the cold floor, guiding Lucas into a smaller chamber tucked beneath the main space, where a carefully arranged collection of objects awaited. Additional maps, notes, and mechanical devices, each positioned deliberately, as though to tell a story to those willing to pause and listen. Lucas examined each item, turning pages, unfolding diagrams, and handling the instruments with reverence, sensing the connection between the past and the present, the creator and the discoverer, understanding that this hidden trove represented more than mere objects, but a legacy of thoughtful action and enduring intention. The sunlight outside shifted, highlighting the edges of the helicopter and casting golden beams across the chamber, illuminating the dust in the air like tiny motes of memory suspended in time. Lucas exhaled slowly, feeling the quiet weight of discovery settle over him, a profound sense of respect and connection filling the space, while Shadow remained faithfully at his side, attentive, loyal, a silent witness to the unfolding understanding. Together, they moved through the chamber methodically, arranging objects carefully, absorbing the magnitude of what had been preserved, and recognizing the continuity of care that had bridged decades to reach them, aware that this moment of revelation, shared in silence with a loyal companion, marked a culmination of patience, discovery, and the quiet reverence of uncovering a legacy that had been waiting patiently for the right hands. Lucas Bennett lingered near the center of the chamber, the warm glow of the lantern illuminating the crates, instruments, maps, and bundles that surrounded him, each item a testament to care, thought, and decades of patient preservation. Shadow rested close by, amber eyes fixed on Lucas, alert to every subtle movement, tail low but occasionally flicking as if echoing the pulse of anticipation in the room. Lucas carefully unfolded a final set of notes, their edges frayed and ink faded, revealing diagrams, observations, and instructions written with meticulous precision, detailing methods and ideas that had survived the passage of time intact. He traced the lines with gloved fingers, appreciating the thought and foresight embedded in each stroke, sensing the connection between himself and the unknown creator who had invested so much care into leaving this legacy. Shadow nudged a small metallic device toward Lucas, paw light but deliberate, guiding him to examine the intricacies of its construction, polished surfaces, and subtle mechanisms, each component suggesting a purpose and function that spoke of ingenuity and patient craftsmanship. The air in the chamber carried the faint scent of metal and oil mingled with the subtle aroma of pine and damp forest from outside, creating an atmosphere of reverence and anticipation, a space where history and present converged quietly. Lucas moved methodically, examining the contents of each crate, unfolding diagrams, reading notes, and arranging the instruments with deliberate care, understanding that the arrangement itself conveyed a story, a careful mapping of purpose and thought that had been preserved for decades. He paused to study a bundle of letters bound with faded ribbon, carefully untied it and unfolded the contents, discovering a series of instructions, sketches, and observations that reflected a mission of knowledge, creativity, and patience left to endure time. Shadow remained close, ears flicking, occasionally nudging at a corner of the bundle, as though sensing the importance and urging Lucas to continue exploring thoroughly. The sunlight shifted through the cracks of the helicopter, casting golden beams across the chamber floor and illuminating motes of dust that hung in the air, highlighting the stillness and reverence that enveloped them. Lucas felt a deep sense of awe and gratitude, the realization that he and Shadow were now custodians of this hidden story, a bridge between past and present, witnessing the care and dedication of a person long gone yet preserved in every object, note, and instrument. He carefully inspected the final crate, lifting its lid to reveal additional tools, devices, and notes, each arranged intentionally, as though waiting for someone patient and observant to discover them. The maps detailed routes, landmarks, and measurements, each line precise and deliberate, annotations hinting at careful observation and intention, a record meant to endure. Lucas allowed himself a quiet moment, absorbing the significance of the space, the meticulous care, and the thoughtful foresight that had survived the decades to reach him and Shadow. Shadow pressed gently against his leg, a reminder of loyalty and shared presence, a witness to the quiet wonder and understanding that filled the chamber. Lucas exhaled slowly, feeling the culmination of discovery settle over him, a profound connection to the past and to the careful, deliberate acts of preservation, realizing that the legacy before him was more than objects. It was the embodiment of patience, ingenuity, and thoughtful intention, now entrusted to his care and observation, a quiet moment of reverence bridging time, purpose, and understanding. Lucas Bennett stepped back from the central collection of crates, bundles, and instruments, the soft glow of the lantern painting golden highlights across the worn metal of the helicopter and the carefully preserved objects within. Shadow settled at his feet, amber eyes attentive, ears flicking as he absorbed the quiet energy of the chamber, alert to every subtle sound or movement in the still air. Lucas allowed himself a long, steady breath, feeling the weight of the discoveries, the culmination of meticulous preservation and thoughtful planning, settling into a profound awareness that he had become part of a continuum bridging decades of care and patience. He ran gloved fingers along the edges of a map laid carefully atop a crate, tracing the routes, elevations, and natural markers annotated by a hand long gone, appreciating the precision and deliberate attention that had ensured its survival. Shadow nudged a small bundle gently with his nose, prompting Lucas to examine it more closely, revealing a collection of delicate mechanical instruments, a compact notebook, and letters carefully folded and sealed, each carrying details that spoke to foresight, skill, and quiet dedication. Lucas bent to study the contents, reading diagrams and notes with deliberate care, absorbing the scope and ingenuity contained within, understanding that these artifacts were more than simple tools or documents. They were a preserved testament to human thought, creativity, and patience, intended to endure and to guide. The chamber seemed to hold its breath, the air cool and still, tinged with the scent of aged metal and the faint pine aroma drifting from the forest outside, sunlight filtering in through the gaps above, casting long, shifting patterns across the floor. Lucas carefully lifted each item, handling them with reverence, placing them back in a manner that reflected the original care, understanding that the sequence, the positioning, and the preservation were all part of the story being told without words. Shadow remained close, tail low, eyes fixed, a steadfast companion to the moment, attentive to Lucas's focus and the unfolding significance around them. Lucas paused at a corner where a bundle had been partially hidden beneath a crate, gently unwrapping it to reveal additional maps, sketches, and small devices, each piece a continuation of the narrative preserved by a mind committed to thoughtful observation, deliberate action, and patient documentation. He felt a quiet sense of awe, understanding the effort and care that had gone into the preservation, the deliberate intention to create a legacy that could survive the passage of time and speak to someone willing to notice, explore, and understand. Outside, the sunlight shifted again, illuminating the helicopter fuselage in golden streaks while dust motes drifted slowly in the beams, highlighting the stillness and reverence within the chamber. Lucas exhaled slowly, feeling a deep sense of connection to the past, the continuity of human care, and the enduring presence of thought and purpose that these objects represented. Shadow pressed his side against Lucas gently, a loyal companion sharing in the quiet significance of the moment, affirming their partnership and mutual attention to discovery. Lucas took a final survey of the chamber, the arrangement of crates, bundles, maps, letters, and instruments forming a coherent story of intention, patience, and foresight, and he felt the subtle joy of understanding that these objects had waited patiently for him and Shadow to witness and appreciate them. He exhaled again, the quiet weight of discovery settling fully, a mixture of awe, gratitude, and reverent calm, recognizing that the chamber, the preserved artifacts, and the careful legacy they contained were now entrusted to his care, a bridge between the past and present, and a reminder that patience, careful attention, and respect for history can yield profound insight and quiet wonder that endures across generations.